Hello, and welcome to Puzzle Time again with Sudoku Sleuth, and we've got the next puzzle for you today. Not really much of a preamble today, so we're going to get started pretty much by looking at today's puzzle. So, today we have 9 steps tutorial Little Killers by Azireo. And something that I just noticed really is looking back at some of the puzzles that we have solved on this channel is we have not solved any Little Killer Sudoku variant puzzles to my knowledge. We ended up using it on, I think it was yesterday's Colorado 2 puzzle, where essentially you end up with all of these arrows and diagonals that give you a clue as to something that you need to do to basically help solve the puzzle. So let's take a look at the rule sets that we have for today. So normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means the digits 1 through to 9 in every row, every column, and as usual in every box. Digits must not repeat within the same row, column, or box, standard rules. Now, what is a little killer is essentially these numbers that are placed next to arrows, and they are all pointing at diagonals today. And essentially what those diagonals mean and the arrows is, let's take a look at this 8 cell, for example, is these 3 cells must add up to 8, if you sum them all up. And that's really all the rules that we have for today's puzzle. So not too many variants, and hopefully something that you will be able to enjoy. Now, those of you that are familiar to the channel will know that we are often solving Sudoku variant puzzles on here. And often those additional rules allow us to solve a puzzle that is completely devoid of digits in the grid. Thankfully, today's puzzle has a total of 9 digits in the grid. Goodness me, what are we going to do with all of these digits? I can see we essentially have one of each. All the odds and 9 here and all the evens. And somehow these, plus the addition of the little killer cells, should allow us to solve this puzzle. So I hope you get to enjoy the solve. If you want to play along, as usual, there'll be a link in the description down below. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how we get on with today's puzzle. Now, I started at the 8, and I'm really will start at the 8 when I was explaining the rules. So if you think about 8 and 3 cells, if you do not use a 1, the smallest number you can make it to be is 2, 3, and 4, which adds up to 9. So immediately, we know that 1 is part of the solution. Now, you need to make 7 with the remaining 2 cells that we have in here. And there's only going to really be 2 ways of doing that. Given the 1 is gone, so 1 and 7 is not an option. You've got 2 and 5, 2 is gone. And then the other option is 3 and 4. So this is actually entirely fixed today. And you have to place 1, 3, and 4 in these 3 positions. Let's take a look. We have something very similar here with the 10. So once the 1 is gone, once again, 2, 3, and 4 means the minimum is 9, but we need 10. So 2, 3, and 5 is the only way that we can make 3 digits add up to 10 if you cannot use the 1. And these are things that you just end up learning over time as you end up having to frequently just come up with these sums time and time again. I quickly just spotted that we have 3 and 5 in a column, so that's clearly a 2. That's a 3-5 pair now. And what I'm really looking at now is, does that actually help us resolve anything? And the answer is not yet. But I'm just starting to look at the next set of diagonals. I'm just wondering, is that really the reason why it's called a tutorial of 9? But we don't actually have 9 diagonals, do we? We've got 3 on 4 even on this side. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So clearly not 9. I'm just wondering if the 9 in the middle is actually of any significance. Probably as we complete the puzzle, this will unfold. So let's think about what these digits are. So 3, remember, we can repeat digits here, providing we're not repeating in the same row, column, or box as per Sudoku rules. So if we have a think, for example, around this 2, the minimum we can make these is 4 and 6, because 1, 2, 3, and 5 are gone. So the next two lowest digits is 4 and 6. So that already gets us up to 13. And that is indeed the maximum we can put in here, because the minimum we can place in here is a 3, because 1 and 2 are gone in the row. Now that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 4. And we're left with a 1-3 pair. Not really. We've got this 3 here disambiguating it. So that's a 1, that's a 3. And we're off to an excellent start already with quite a few digits in by minute 3. Now, if we look at the other side now, because bear in mind, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 gone in row 1. So the minimum we can place in here would be 6. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are gone in here. So the minimum we can place in there is 5 and 6. So 4, 5, 6, that's 15, and another 6, that's 21. Once again, that's also fixed. Do these 5, 6s resolve at all? Seemingly not. And we're left with triplets in each of these of 7, 8s, and 9s. You know, not a 7 here, not an 8 there, but not interesting at this point just yet. Right. Is there anything going on with these diagonals, I wonder? So they share a cell. Really doesn't seem that obvious to me what we're meant to be doing in here. Let's have a look. I mean, we've got quite a lot of columns 1 and 9 completed, so I'm sort of looking at these diagonals next. 13 and 3 cells, there's, you know, a tremendous number of options. Even with one of the cells restricted, it doesn't really help us. Similar for the 9, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. So this can still be 4, 6, or 8. And to add up to 9, that will be joined with 1, 5, and 3. Not 3, therefore not 6. Not very interesting. Certainly not, doesn't feel like progress. "11 looks quite restricted because we've got 4 cells. 5 is gone. So we need these 3 cells to add up to 6. These two are different, so the minimum here is 1 and 2. So that's 3. And we would need a 3 in here, which is also not an option. So yeah, this is probably where we need to go next. So given we need to add up to 6, what I'm going to do is, if we have a double 1, maximum here would be 4. So we know these digits are from 1, 2, 3, and 4. These two cannot be 3. That's still not really enough to help us complete this at all. It's not doing any triplets or doubles or quadruplets. It's not really closing down the options that we have here. 16 without 7. And again, this cell is extremely restricted. 1, 2, 3. So once again, this is from 4, 6, or 8. Can also be a 9. Yeah, 4, 6, 8, and 9. Still leaves a huge number of options in there. I don't know if 9 is possible because that would need to be matched with a 7. Which, you know, there's still quite a few other options available. So I'm not really sure. I think I'm going down the wrong path looking at these diagonals. So it's, I mean, it's not these 3. I don't think it's the 13. The 51, there's just so many still unknowns at this point. But let's just give that a go. So 7, 8, and 9 together. Let's assume it repeats in here. That's 2 24s, that's 48. Plus a 4 in here. and another 7. Wow. So 48, 58, 59 means 8 degrees of freedom. So this is definitely not the next step for us. Let's take a look at this. Actually, let's just take a look at this diagonal. So 6 cells that add up to 21, meaning we're talking about an average of 3.5. Now we know these two are 9s, so we're now looking for 12 in these 4 cells, which is an average of 3. So even if we repeat 1s, this is still pretty restricted. You know, the largest this would be is 5, 1 and 5 to make a 6, 1 and 5 to make another 6. Yeah, this is probably where we're meant to be looking next. So I'm just going to assume that it cannot, so we know we cannot be any larger than 5. None of these are 3s. None of these are 4s. These two are not 1s. This is not a 2. This is not a 3 either. Yeah, the 1, 2, 4s and 5s are starting to show up quite often around the grid. Is it meant to be coloring what is low and high, potentially? So what do we have on this diagonal? So we've got 6 cells that add up to 44. Take away the 11 that we know. We're left with 4 cells that add up to 33. It's a pretty high set of digits to get to 33. Now the maximum we can make these digits is 9, 8, and 9, which would be 26 plus the 5, 31 plus the 11. Have I made a mistake somewhere there? 9, 8, and 9. 9, 8, and 9. 18 and 8 is 26. 26 and... Okay, 6, 32, 37. This cannot be as low as 2, 4, and 5. That would be a mistake. The minimum we can make this is 7 for this diagonal. I'm gonna remove these quietly. Well, okay, so if this is 1 and 2, and 1 again, 1, 2, 1 is 4 plus 9, 13. Right, so this can be as high as 8, and it's got to be as low, cannot be any lower than 7. So this is a 7 or 8. That's a bit better. These are almost certainly 8, 9s, and let me just have a look. That's not 9. So if this was an 8-9 pair, and this was an 8-9 pair, we get to 34 plus the 11 to 45. So we only have 1 degree of freedom. So we need a 9 in both of these. And then it's a question of one of them is an 8 and one of them is a 7, is really what we're saying. And we don't know which is which just yet. We know we need a 9 in here, a 9 in there as well. Yeah, nothing just yet. Just quickly checking if there is any obvious locations for the remaining 9s, but nothing as of yet. So this 7, 8, and remember, a minimum of 7 is putting a lot of pressure now on these 3 digits. So 6 and 10, the minimum is 16. Therefore, in these 3 cells, we need to make a maximum of 5 and a minimum of 4. So I'm nearly certain at this point that we need a double 1, as in this has to be a 1. But if we want to make a maximum of 5, so 2 1s and a 3 would work. So this cannot include a 4 anymore. That's not 1, that's not 2, that's not 3, that is a 1. Now we need, yeah, a 1 joined with a 3 or a 1 joined with a 2, depending on whether this is a 7 or 8. So I'm fairly sure that's another 1. Just going to quickly double check the maths. 5 and 6, 11. 11 and 7 is 18, which would make this a 3. 11 and 8 would be 19, which would make that a 2. So that's all correct. Now these ones means we've got a 1 in here. Nothing obvious about the other remaining ones, unfortunately. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something a little bit odd, where I'm actually going to color code some of these so they stand out just that little bit more for me. I'm actually thinking this 51 may be our next step, actually. You see, because now this cannot be a 9. I mean, these can still be 9s. So this can still be 7, 8, 9. This can still be 7, 8, 9. The maximum this can be is 7. Now it can still even be an 8. So now maybe that's not the right next step. Yeah, I've not missed any other diagonals. And there are no other rules. So it is, the secret is certainly in these diagonals. So the question to ask here. So with all the evens gone, let's do this based on odds and evens for a second. So this is an odd digit. And therefore we either need 2 odds or 2 evens. So if it's 2 evens, that's 2 and 4, that's 6, and that would be 7. So I'm just going to pencil mark in some options. 2 and 6 would be 8. That would be a 5, which is still available. 4 and 6 is a 10, and that would be a 3, but that's not available. That was if they were both even. Now, if they're both odd, notice ones are gone. So that means the minimum we can make this with odd digits would be 3 and 5, which would be an 8, and this would be a 5. Sorry, 3 and 5, yeah. It's the minimum because ones are gone, and that would still be a 5. So this is actually from 5 and 7. We can't place a 1 in here. Because if this is a 1, we still need 12. How can we get to 12? So 3 and 9 is presumably an option. Yes, it is. So 1 is an option in here, unfortunately still. 3 and 9, 5 and 7. Yeah, there's still many options. Just because I can't get to it with even digits doesn't mean it's not an option. So it's not the 13. Has any of these 9s helped us at all with any of these diagonals? This is still 1 and 5. This is still 4 and 8. These are still so many options in here. So I think that cannot be a 4, because if this is a 4, this would be a double 1. Now, if that's a 4, that's a double 1. If that's a 4, that's a double 1. Both of which for now are allowed. But actually, if we place a 4 in here, that would be an 8, that would be a 1. We'd be repeating the 1 in the same box, mind you. So 4 is not an option. And we're left with 1, 2, and 3, which is exactly what we need to get to 6. So that has to be the 3 plus a 1, 2 pair. But actually, yeah, because even if these are double ones, we can no longer place a 4 in here. 4 would require an 8 plus a 1, which would break the puzzle. Double 2s would get us to 4, and we'd need another 2 in here, which would repeat the 2. So yeah, this is a 1, 2 pair with a 3. We don't have any other options available. This is a much harder puzzle than I was expecting. Almost wondering if I'm going to be posting this video at this point. But just because this is restricted, I will pencil mark them. If they're down to 2 digits, same in here. So we've got a triplet. We still need to place 2, 4, 5, and 6. So we know 2 is in one of these cells. We've already known that for a while, so that's not a massive revelation necessarily. This is from 7 or 8. We've got a 7, 8 pair. And we need to place 4, 5, or 6. It's restricted to 4 or 5 to form a triplet with these. Again, not hugely interesting. You see, the reason I'm saying it's not hugely interesting is it's not on any of our diagonals. Now that I've deliberately marked all of our diagonals in gray, really the only way we're going to make any material progress in our puzzle is if we somehow figure out what some of these gray cells are. I'm just going to, because, you know, I've completely pencil marked in these diagonals. It's realistically only these cells that are of interest at this point, because once you've solved one of these, you can solve quite a lot of the rest of the puzzle. So let's continue this slow but hopefully steady progress. Doesn't really feel like steady progress just yet. So we've placed all the evens. We know that the 3 is gone. So this is from 1, 5, 7, or 9. So this is 5 or 7, because 1 and 9 look at this cell. And this is presumably all the options. Yeah. There's a lot of random restrictions across this grid that I'm not really entirely able to see what it all means. So I've missed this diagonal, the 16, which just for the sake of argument, I'm going to color differently so it stands out from the other gray cells. Otherwise, it's just going to be lost to me. So this 16, if this is 1 and 2, that's 13. So really, we can't even use 1 and 2. And 1 and 2 is already taken by one of these cells. We also know that these two are different. So let's think about it for a second. These two are different. They both see this cell because in the box or in the row. And the 3 is in here. So the minimum we can make this is a 4. 5 up there, meaning this is up to 6, 7, and 8, and 9. So this is a 4, 6 pair. Stunningly in the column. Very surprising. So 4 means this is quite restrictive. 6 will probably mean this is restrictive. The question I want to ask myself actually for a second. Actually, we have to have a 9 in here because there are no 9s in any of the remaining cells. 9 cannot go in here. So we absolutely have to place a 9 in there. So if 9 is in one of these two cells, that means the remaining cells must add up to 7. So it's not 3, 4, it's 6, 1. 1 cannot be in here, 1 can be in here. So that's 1, 9, 6, amazingly. Therefore, this is 2, this is 1. That means this will be 5 and 4 to make that a 9, and that's 7. Sorry, 8 to complete the box, which makes that a 7. And 8 in here. This is a 7-9 pair. Fortunately, it's not one of the interesting grey cells that would have allowed us to unwind quite a lot of these. But that's progress. I'm not going to deny it. That's 4. Can't place 6 anywhere in here. So that's got to be the 6. Joined with a 2-5 pair by the looks of things to complete the row. And therefore this is a 4. That's a 6. That's a 5. It's all falling apart now. 2-5 pair. This is a 7-8, which we're not able to resolve yet. And this is an 8-9 pair, which we're also not able to resolve yet. Normally, when I say not able to resolve, someone will point out in the comment section that no, you absolutely can resolve it. You're just not paying attention. And yes, I can because of these 2 9s. That's a 9, 8, 7, 8, 7, 9. And that's a tremendous amount of progress all of a sudden. So we know what this cell is. This is a 6 to complete the column. We must know what these 2 cells are. We still need to place a 4, 7, and 8. That's not 4 in here, so that's the 4. That's 7 or 8. Actually, this 7 tells us this is an 8, and that's a 7. Let me just double check that. 13, 20, 38, 44. That looks solid. And this 7, I can't remember what the options were. If it was 7, therefore it has to be the higher digits. So that's 10, 13, 14, 15, 21. That's correct. Have we got any more diagonals left to solve? 13 and the 51. So let's just do a little bit of Sudoku to quickly tidy up all the revelations we've had. Then we can take a look at these 2 remaining diagonals to see what's left for us to solve there. I'm just filling in these 1, 2. I'm just checking that I haven't missed anything obvious. And it seemingly doesn't look like I have missed anything obvious. Right, so we might be able to make some more progress with Sudoku, but I'm much more interested in taking the harder route and taking a look at what these diagonals are now telling us. So we are left with 5 and 7 in here. 1 is not possible because of this one that sees it. Therefore, this is the only one left in the column. We need to get up to 2. So that's either a 3 and 9. 4 and 8 are gone. 5 and 7 are gone. That's the only option to get to 12. Right. Time to look at this 51. I'm not sure because it had 7 or 8 degrees of freedom when we did the maths earlier. I don't know how many of that has actually been lopped off at this point. So 18, 26, 36, 37, and we're trying to get to 51. So we still need another 14 in 3 cells. Hopefully my math was all correct there. And we're allowed a huge number of options in 3 cells, so I'm not going to worry about it just yet. So what can this cell be? I say I'm not going to worry about it just yet, and I immediately looked at the gray cells to do a bit of Sudoku and see what the options are, but I guess it's still the more interesting part of the puzzle to solve. So 1, 3, and 4 are gone, so it's 2, 5, 6, or 8. That all looks doable. 1 is gone, 2 is available, 3 is available, 4, 5, and 6 are not. 7 and 8 are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 are gone. 5 and 7 are available. So 5, 7 pair. These are, I mean, 4 is here, which we've known anyway. That's 4, 2, 4, and 6 by the looks of things. Not a lot of restrictions on them, other than this not being a 4, and this not being a 2, this not being a 6. And of course, they don't resolve. To get to 14 in these cells, so if we place an 8, we need to get to 6 in the remaining cells. So I don't think 8 is possible, because it's either a 1, 5, which is not possible. We don't have 1 as an option in any of them, surprisingly, or 2, 4, and 4 is not an option in any of them again. So I don't think 8 is possible. Just gonna quickly double check my maths. So 10, 11, 20, this is 17, so 37. 37, we still need another 10, 47, and then another 4. It is indeed 14. So if it is 7 in one of these, and I'm almost certain we have to have a 7, then the other 2 would have to be 2 and 5. If we don't use a 7, let's say 6 is what we use, we need 8. So 3 and 5 is possible. So 3, unfortunately, is still an available option. I was hoping to say this is a 257 setup, but 257, but equally as good as a 356 setup. So we don't have to use a 7 in any of these. And I don't think I can further restrict this at this point. So we are going to have to go back to normal Sudoku once again. This 6 was staring at me and I ignored it. 4, 6. Let's see what else we've got to place in here. We've got to place a 9 and an 8. We do know where they are. No, this is not a 9. This is the 9. We've got to place an 8 and a 2. They're both available. Looks like it. 2 and 8. That's another 5-7 pair. Therefore, in here, we need to place 1, 2, and 4 to complete the row. That's not 1. It's not 1. This is the 1. This is the 2. That's not a 2. That's an 8. That's the 2. That's also not a 2. Starting to get a bit more interesting. And there are no 2s available. So from the options that were available to us, it's got to be 5, 3, and 6. There is no other way we can get to 14. So this is the only 6 that we have. That's got to be fixed. This is the only 3 that we have, and therefore this is the 5. And from here on, it should be, I hope, relatively straightforward to complete this. Famous last words, I imagine. Right, last digit in the row. We need a 2. I'm getting a bit lazy. I'm just gonna pencil mark all the options now. So we've got 5, 6, and 8. And just quickly clean it up. These 2 are not 6. This is the 6, 5, and 8. Do we have anything looking at it from the top? No, we do not. Then we have 3s. This is the 3, 4, and 7 by the looks of things. 4 and 7, we do not have something to resolve them. Let's take a look at what we need in here. We need a 1, which we know, and a 7, which we know. Therefore, we can resolve these and these. And this 2 helps us because it tells us 5 and 2, 8 and 5. And to complete the box, we need an 8 and a 5. And the order is as follows. So if there's no mistakes, that's a solution to today's puzzle. 32 minutes. Not the easiest introduction to little killer clues at all. I think it was a lot more involved than I expected, given the 1-star difficulty rating that this puzzle was awarded. but an immensely enjoyable solve. An immensely enjoyable solve. So you can see you really just have to think through about where the diagonals are and constantly keep a running tally of, once you resolve a diagonal, what other diagonals does it resolve, and therefore what other Sudoku options does it open up? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's puzzle, and see you back for the next one. Bye for now.